This game contains depictions of extreme acts of violence towards children, and suicide, and mentions of sexual assault. And it is not kidding. All of those things are going to occur in the course of Laika, Aged Through Blood. This is a bit of a hardcore gaming experience. This story is grim and bleak and kind of depressing. I will tell you that the child death is going to occur very, very early on. None of the other things, besides the extreme gore, are going to be seen in this segment of the game. So they put all their cards on the table early on. This is a very, very long game. And it's a very long time before we get to most of those content warnings. Besides the child death, which, brace yourself. It is fast approaching. But right now, we are in the abstract where none of that means much of anything. Let's make it a reality. Bring it into the realm of the concrete that we can fully wrap our heads around. So Laika, it's a very pretty game. Love that cartoon art style. And its extreme contrast to the content of the game. And here we go. Answer our phone. It's Puppy. Puppy is sad that Cousin Poochie has been crucified via his own guts. Second sentence of the game. The kid is dead. This is also two-dimensional. This game takes place on a two-dimensional plane. And yet I'm playing it on my weekly vehicular combat stream. How can this be? Well, we've got a motorbike right next to us. We're biking. We don't typically see two-dimensional car combat. And some would say Laika doesn't count as car combat. I am not one such person. Right now, it doesn't feel so much like car combat. It feels more like Trials HD. And in a lot of ways, it is like that. We're gonna kill some wretched birds on behalf of Maya. We don't especially want to. You said it. She has the misfortune of being able to see forward, where this trail of blood leads. You've been warned. Just found Poochie. They weren't lying. Crucified with his own guts. He did not ascend to his home planet. He died on his way there. Take a little shower. And then I guess return to the bike. Okay, I'm having too much fun with the world of a dead child. Okay, so they want us to turn around. We can drift and whip the bike around. pretty much on the spot. Checkpoints, although we do have to manually touch the checkpoint and hit the button that activates it. So it is quite possible to lose lots and lots and lots of progress by not properly using the checkpoints. Beat a break. Breaking is for cowards. I bend before I break. I think the actual badass sentiment would be to say it the other way around, but not in this context. Now we can have some fun on our way to avenging a dead child by doing wheelies. Whee! Beehives. Maybe we'll make friends with some bees. Sort of use all the friends we can get. Barbed wire, so we've only now determined where we need to go. Thankfully, it's been a pretty straight shot. To where birds lurk. So for some reason in the world of furries, birds are evil. This, I promise you, is not true in more general worlds of furries. An older boy told me. Yep. Missed my chance. If you don't do your wheelies, you do not go onto upper platforms. They're sort of like Castlevania stairs where you have to press up. Although in this case, we are actually pressing back away from the staircase. And that's what allows us to climb it. A lot of dead birds. We're super zoomed out, so it's a little hard to see. There are corpses everywhere. I'll tell you, the driving does not go this smoothly your first time playing this game. You may have noticed my main profile has over 14 hours in it. That is about how long it took me to get used to these controls. Okay, admittedly, I was used to the controls after about an hour and a half. But that is where this really has a lot in common with car combat. Is that it is, like, really, really, really difficult to do, like, simple movement. Now we're gonna get shot at. Our bike blocks bullets. Certainly a lot better than our flesh does, anyway. Thank you, bike, for having impenetrable tires. And birds for having fairly bad vision. Once we move a little bit, they are done with us. Oh, right in the back of the head. I suppose what I can do there is tilt the bike backwards. Deaths are going to be very, 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 very common in this game. You die profoundly often. I've had times where I've died, like, 10, 20, maybe even more times on a single checkpoint. The checkpoints are sometimes, like, 10, 15 feet apart. I'd say this is a hard game, and it does not have a difficulty selector of any sort. We do have a bullet reflector. Just, yeah. Whip the tail of the bike around. Bounce bullets back at people. I only get one reflection, though, before I have to recharge it. And we recharge it by doing a flip. Flip. Now I can reflect again. And this is how we kill people. their own bullets. Not quite combat yet, though. This is still defensive. Trail of blood to the bunker. This must be Jacob's blood. I should probably reflect that back at him, but whatever. There he is, a furry. He also seems to have killed the vast majority of this military base, which is somewhat impressive. Jake's dead too. Oh, they tortured Poochie. Thank you for the information, Jacob. They tortured him a lot. And they made a war machine. So we did indeed have to come out here. Jacob or no. This game goes way too heavy, way too early on. That much is inarguable. For the most part, though, the heaviness is going to work. In my opinion. Immediate dead kid. That's a little much. Bullet time when we shoot. Backflips to recharge our gun. Another word for that would be reload. Whoosh. So, we are currently playing Trials HD and Enter the Gungeon simultaneously, while also managing backflips and front flips, both of which have different effects. We're juggling checkpoints, all this rugged terrain, and all the dead kids. Yeah, I gotta get up there. Gonna take quite a bit of a boost. Ah, yes. Good point, Blast Tyrant in chat. Laika is the dog that was sent into space on a test probe, which killed the dog. The dog did not even make it to space. Not even close. It died on launch. You can listen to an extremely sad song about that by Jonathan Colton called Space Doggity. But yeah, that's a sad story. Which indeed matches the tone of this game. I landed on my head. There is an option in the menu, which is as close as you get to an easy mode, which does allow you to spend a brief period of time on your head after you crash your bike before you die. Give you a chance to right yourself. But it is not enabled by default. I have opted not to enable it. The game sort of recommends you not use it. But honestly, that would not make the game that much easier. Build up a little speed. Apparently save over here. And get crafting materials, because we're going to have to deal with crafting as well. So crafting materials will allow us to make a lot of stuff. But our main economy, I can show you right now after I reload so I don't forget, is up in the corner there, right at the very top left. That is Viscera. We spend guts to purchase things in this game. It is a intestines-based economy, and the economy is in shambles. It costs so much Viscera to buy anything. It's honestly really, really frustrating how long it takes, how much grinding you have to do. You get 5 viscera per kill. It costs 1,500 to build a new gun, and we need new guns. Thankfully, there is ways to build a multiplier so you get more than 5 per hit. And there are ways to increase the efficacy of your multipliers and stuff. So, grinding can take a lot less time when you're good at it, but it's still so expensive to do much of anything. And yes, our revolver holds 2 bullets for some reason. Exactly 2 more than I'd ever like to shoot again. No such luck, Laika. Laika is basically the embodiment of violence and the most powerful living being in the entire universe, and hates violence and wishes she didn't have to do it. We're gonna have to do a lot of violence in this game, though. It is a violence-based game. Refined metal is very important for upgrades. Virtually every major upgrade requires refined metal. And usually each dungeon contains 1 refined metal pickup. You can buy it at shops, but it is 1,000 viscera per pickup. And the upgrades themselves are expensive enough already for not to have to fall down there. You pretty much just want to be spinning anytime you're in midair. Whoosh. Which is awesome, and it makes it look like Laika's having a very fun time, despite her character being so stoic and insistent that she is not having a fun time. So here's how you would build a combo, which is shoot a corpse. When you shoot a corpse, everything you generate viscera-wise gets doubled. Or I think it's not even doubled by default. Multipliers are kind of underwhelming and do not do as much as I would like to reduce grinding time. But in addition to crafting new weapons and stuff, there is crafting of food. And food will allow you to increase your multipliers. So you gotta just non-stop spin everywhere all the time. And land on your wheels, because if you land on your head, you're dead. Whilst accurately aiming. We can do that? Hell yeah. This game's really, really hard your first time playing it. Thankfully, I cannot get chopped in half, but I can get stuck in the ground, which is... okay. Almost worse, but I was able to save it. Drift right out of the floor. Thankfully, there are not very many elevators in the game, because they don't work great. Uh-oh. The action of having to do all these flips to refill your various resources is fun as hell. I honestly love it. It looks cool. It really plays great. It is nonetheless super hard. It takes a long time to get used to. We found the bird's spooky laboratory. Uh-oh. Not get shot. Famous last words, apparently. No big deal. Checkpoints are currently pretty generous. Some of the later areas do unfortunately get a little sparse with their checkpoints. On a straightaway, they usually seems like they want you to reflect bullets, which I try to do there. The timing on bullet reflections are very, very generous. And I still somehow whipped it there. Rude. After you attempt a bullet reflection, there is a brief period where you cannot attempt another one. So if you failed your bullet reflection and the bullet is coming during that period, you are dead. I feel like I'm going to want my other bullet and my ability to flip. For some reason, I'm not allowed to hit this elevator. Checkpoint. We're very scared of this laboratory. This structure that the birds are standing upon appears to be a giant mechanical bird skeleton. Terrifying bird sculptures in the background, too. It's a little bit of a horror game. In fact, it often becomes body horror. Brutal. This section is so hard your first time playing it. And absolutely trivial compared to stuff 14 hours into this game. That's what beehives are for. Target practice. A 100 hungry beaks. Not technically alliteration. It has to be a consonant sound for it to count as alliteration. There they are. Not quite 100, but it is a lot. Thankfully, the scoop just launches us up into the air where we get a lot of clean shots. At the various heads. And every single one of them needs to be killed. This is another thing that is pretty challenging your first time through. And apparently pretty challenging now. But compared to some of the later bosses, this is very, very easy. So the thing about bosses is they make the camera zoom out super far because the bosses are huge. And that makes your character model microscopic. Got quite a few there. Could certainly get a lot more if I were a little more accurate. Unfortunately, they're skulls, so they're not generating viscera. I'm going to focus on survival because the boss does not do very much in the way of offense. Clearly, it could bulldoze an entire city, but it can't bulldoze me. So I'm going to be the aggressor. Finish it this cycle. The guns on this thing are mostly vestigial. And there was a final flash there of dying Jacob. For whatever reason. He's still dying. Off the distance. Nothing has changed there. Status quo maintained. You gotta recharge that elevator before we're gonna find the Jacob. Which means a shortcut. Seem to have forgotten how to get out of this room. Okay. There's the door. Behind the gigantic corpse. So apparently the way that machine is bleeding It was somewhat organic. Thank God they don't make you redo the 5 birds in this area. Quality leather. The leather maker is the worst vendor in this game. We're gonna meet him soon. I hate that guy. First, we're gonna have to get this elevator rolling. Everyone has vacated the premises. This works on Dark Souls rules. So after you die or you hit a checkpoint, all the enemies respawn. Normally. And the elevator just works. A legitimate shortcut. If more dungeons in this game came with shortcuts, this game would be dramatically better. But that stuff he said about having to retrace our steps, that is often the case with a lot of the later dungeons. We got weird experiments in the background. Technological nightmares and fleshy lumps. Loading in goo. Not our concern. We need to do CPR. We, gonna talk to him? Okay. Took a bit of a second to start the cutscene. Seemed like maybe we're gonna drive off without him. Puppy is gonna be, alone. With her friend tortured to death. Guess our friend was also tortured to death, though. Hate to say that his corpse looks like it was messily eating a cherry pie, because that seems a little disrespectful. But corpse might have been too soon. He's a talking. Turns out Laika can talk to the dead due to her immortality and superpowers. Anyway, let's hear a sad song. Yeah, for a shitty world, it's kind of pretty. Love the twilight coming on. All those layers of parallax scrolling. This is a pretty small studio, Brainwash. Weirdly enough, I picked up their first game just completely at random in 2017. It's a very, very small scale roguelike. With not a whole lot of features to it. And nowhere near this level of animation quality. They got really, really, really good a couple of games in. War were declared. And Laika is the only warrior in the world. So we're gonna have to do all the footwork. There's Puppy. We're not allowed to run. It's simply too somber. Just wander around until we find a door we can walk through. Grandma lives there. Shotgun. We can make candles here in her house out of beeswax. We don't know what candles do. They are teleportation fuel. If we want to fast travel, we need to spend a candle to do it. Which is honestly kind of a waste. But my entire time playing this game, I have never run out of candles, so it's not that bad. It's honestly pretty pointless. Might just be an incentive to get you into this room more often. You know we haven't built the shotgun, you just told us how to do it. Keep on stumbling along. Almost to Laika's house. Puppy's got a side quest for us. She wants a gun. So they couldn't find Poochie's corpse. We brought home Jacob. Poochie is MIA. Puppy gets to be the funerary friend of Poochie. And that's our side quest. Find the best flower ever. It's at the graveyard. We can't leave until we go to bed. Annihilated makes a good point in chat, which is Maya has an entire wall of rocket launchers and machine guns behind her, and we need to go build our own shotgun. It's not like the guns are soul-bound or magic or anything, because Jacob stole our gun. Used it no problem. Wiped out half the base with it. And I don't even know how. He must have been doing some weird flips on his feet, because he doesn't have a motorcycle. Here he is. First of all, I don't know what animal this is supposed to be. What the hell are you, Leatherman? Zoot. But Leatherman charges exorbitant fees for everything. Refined metal? Why do you need to put metal in your leather sack? You weirdo. And 1500 Viscera, that's just never gonna happen. You can buy multiple weapon storage pouches, and even 14 hours into the game, I've only ground up the resources to get one of them. But they are kind of cool. You get to carry multiple guns at the same time. Considering our pistol only carries 2 bullets, you kind of need them. So now, people tell their kids, if you misbehave, you too will get eviscerated. And other unspeakable things that we're probably not going to tell them about. This guy sells spices. He's the most worthless guy in town, because we typically have way too many things to cook with. Zoe's our blacksmith. He's going to make our shotgun. We can't afford the shotgun. Rather, we can afford it, we just don't have the pieces. It has to be full of bones and rusty springs. Can almost sort of do the crossbow, but not quite. And I'm short 2 wood for the revolver upgrade for an extra ammo slot. Brutal. And then we get to the weird citizens. Doomsayers. Shouting kids. People with too much imagination. And side quest givers. Ashes that we need to drop off at the graveyard. Because we have actual afterlife knowledge that they cannot go into the afterlife until we deliver those ashes. Okay, we can go in here. Yeah, Poochie's still out there, so he is not resting. That is bad news. We're at war. The Yak said so. Their laboratory is extremely scary, so they could probably make more war machines. We're not the thinker, we are the tool of devastation. Here's one of my favorite characters. Mina loves bugs. Hell yeah, Mina. Brother knows him better, but he is out of town. Bugs are smarter than the furries. So, normally in these sorts of games, you get like all non-mammalians versus all mammalians, or something like that. But no, bugs are our friends in this universe. It's literally birds versus everyone else. Birds have no allies whatsoever. Happen to know that hut is empty, so I won't even bother going in there. But later in the game, we actually meet a gigantic centipede who is one of our friends. And that is my favorite character. Camilla is a goth. Person in a different language is speaking Egyptian hieroglyphs, apparently. And Herman is mad at us for the war. He could solve it right now. All that stands between us and peace is Laika. Technically sorta true. Weapon of war that we are. So a logical stopping point would have been the funeral there. But I'm going to try out another side quest, because you don't really see the game up to that point. That intro is very tutorial. Here's what cooking is like. You have a combination of filler, flavor bombs, and vending juice. There's a fourth category of object. What happens if we put in one of each? We make a common rice noodle soup, which increases our multiplier by 1.5. We can stack up multiple different types of food benefits, but we can't stack up like the rare and epic version of the same food benefit. So if I found a higher formula for multiplier improvement, I would not be able to use it. Sometimes the recipes make sense. Most of the time they do not. We inherited Jacob's tape collection. Nice. Everyone hates Bakoli. Who is the musician who is currently singing? The in-universe character who plays all the tunes that we love. Here on the easy listening station. The furry Sarah McLachlan. She sings about sad abandoned human babies, I guess. So Jacob had a method for getting cassette tapes out of jammed boomboxes. Pistols. Kablam. So yeah, we got a radio in our bike. It's a weird retro future sort of setting. A lot of technology is readily available, modern technology. It's one of those, you know, post-apocalypses where we had all the stuff that we currently have today, and we lost it due to a bit of a genocide. The birds represent fascism, which is why they wear pith helmets. Not to find a point on it or anything. A weird muddying of the waters, though, is there's an achievement for 1,000 kills. That achievement is called genocide. Wish they hadn't done that. Because otherwise, that doesn't get said anywhere in the game. Up, hit a checkpoint, and immediately face planted. Run over by my own bike. This guy is of an unknowable species, because he's completely covered himself. Explorer and magician. His dialogue is somewhat frustrating because he just, says the same thing and then the opposite and then the same thing again. Talks around in circles. This is our map seller. That's right, seller. This is a Metroidvania, but you have to buy your maps. I don't really know of any other Metroidvania where they don't just give you the exploration that you've earned. You have to purchase it before you're allowed to see where you've been. I guess Hollow Knight does that. Still haven't played very much Hollow Knight. It's kind of rough. It leads to a lot of, like, waste. Because your first time through this game, you are going to run out of Viscera very early on, and his prices increase gradually, and sometimes you just can't buy the map. And that sucks. Because then you're flying blind for no good reason. Kai, the one-armed guitarist, worked at the bar. They burned down Quada's bar. He can still play guitar, though. He insists. invite him home. We need music so badly, and no one will listen to our tapes. They hate Bakoli. Bakali. Be a collie. Seems like it's supposed to include the word E. coli. Only reason the big dog's not playing right now, his strings are too rusty. Haha. Snuck in a dangerous flip. Thankfully, this old gas station has been converted into a handy shop, which we will enter as soon as we finish talking to Puppy, I guess. She wants rice burgers, which presumably will contain no rice, even though there is a rice pickup that you can get for cooking. It is not in any of the areas we're going to. Okay, guitar strings, 35 bucks. I'm actually doing really good on Viscera because I haven't lost any of my Viscera bags. If you don't go to the exact location of your most recent death, and you die 2 more times, they give you a bit of a margin of error. Don't do exactly that, then you will lose half your Viscera. And then half again in the next bag, and so on and so on. Tapes cost 1,200 guts. Not sure why everyone wants to handle just gobs and gobs of bird guts. It's cathartic, I guess, because it certainly can't have any value. It's almost a critique of capitalism. The way that they make us scoop up all this garbage of no actual use. Milk it right out of corpses. Okay, right there, while I was going for an extra hit, I shot his gun as it was flying through midair. The gun is not worth extra Viscera, obviously. And it does bounce your bullet away from the corpse, essentially wasting a bullet, although it does ricochet in real time, potentially bouncing over and hitting another enemy. Unlikely, but possible. Paul has been knocked out of his shell shock, ironically. They're willing to go home. I'm going to the graveyard, which is way up here. We'll probably wrap up this quick look before we complete all the missions that we have to do here in the graveyard. Because the graveyard is a gargantuan level that takes a very long time. I would love to tell you that this game just keeps getting better and better. Because it does keep getting better and better for a long time. And I think the mechanics of this game are fantastic and really must-play material if you're capable of getting into this sort of complicated gameplay. Basically, if you find car combat accessible, you will find this game accessible as well. And it is a really unique experience with really, really fun gameplay. I enjoyed juggling all the corpses. Unfortunately, this game slows to a crawl later on. We start to see it a little bit here. But here it's just a sort of slow pacing, which really works for sort of a somber graveyard level. But the pace just slows further and further and further as backtracking becomes the name of the game. So that shortcut that I pointed out in the first dungeon, there is never a shortcut again in this game. kind of gets unbearable. Some of the later levels are so frustrating. If anyone remembers my playthrough of Nightmare Creatures 2 specifically, you may recall that I had an issue with the very final level where they force you to climb all the way to the top of the Eiffel Tower to discover that you cannot advance without a crowbar. And at the top of the tower, you find a key. The key leads to a room at the bottom of the tower with a crowbar inside. Vegan tortilla. I don't think I used any meat in the vegan tortilla, so it does technically work. And did that before. Can we make anything new? There's only these 4 categories of food, so there's a very, very finite number of things we can make. Here's a new one. 25% extra resources. That means, like, shale and rocks and bones and stuff that we shoot off the walls. 25% more of those at the common tier. Like that. $25% of 5 is like 1 extra piece per pickup. But yeah, in Nightmare Creatures 2, you climb to the top of the tower. Then you climb to the bottom of the tower to get the crowbar. Then you climb all the way back up to the top of the tower to use the crowbar. You play the level 3 times. This game has a level where you do exactly that. You go to the bottom of a tower, you find out you need to climb to the top. Then you climb all the way back down to the bottom. And then you climb back up to the top. And even worse, Nightmare Creatures 2 had the dignity to end on that terrible level design. This game keeps going beyond that point, and level design gets even worse from there. So yeah, the end of this game is really frustrating, and it made me quit on a boss fight that was a minute-long auto-scroller. And if you made any mistake at any point during the auto-scroller, you had to do the whole thing again. Should use my improved multiplier to shoot people even more. But I'm not going to play this file too much longer. We're nearing the conclusion of this little first look. So yeah, the late game is rough. Really, that's the mid-game. The late game brings it back around again, from what I've seen. I haven't completely finished the game. I did eventually beat the minute-long auto-scroller, but it was so boring. An action platformer should not be boring. But that was a really, really frustrating fight that made me not want to play the game anymore. This is still a hearty recommend. Damn. I still had a reflect that I could have used there. Save myself. But I got the timing wrong. Face plant. Easy to get caught in a bit of a death cycle. This will be fine. Okay, that's certainly dealt with much worse. So, the reason I killed that one guy there and now I'm just driving around and this guy's looking at me, there are a handful of enemies in the game that simply will not attack you. You get a free shot on them. And that's a scripted thing. Those enemies will always not attack you. Not a weird glitch or anything. But yeah, I made it a good 7 hours before I found this game had really taken a huge dive in the level design department. So I would strongly recommend getting a hold of it, trying it out. Assuming you don't find this gameplay to be just way too much to handle. Because I do understand that sentiment. Thing is, though, I would love to do a full playthrough of this game because it's gorgeous and it has really, really beautiful themes of colonialism and culture, and femininity is a huge part of the story in a way that is, like, really unique and explored in some really, really interesting ways throughout the plot. And I do not think that I could reasonably do, like, a full game playthrough of this. I would have to edit out just entire huge chunks of, like, actual gameplay, like, stuff happening. Because it would be too damn annoying to show off. And I just hate to do that in a full playthrough. So this is probably going to be all I'm going to show off of this game. This is a side quest right here. This combat encounter is so difficult that it counts as a side quest. I just remembered a bit of a trick about how you're supposed to do it. Hit here, then slide backwards. Can't get a reload just yet, but we can regain our momentum. I forget if that guy counts as part of the 7 that we need to kill. So we're almost there. So the birds have gotten into the trees of our ancestral graveyard and started sawing them suckers down and wrapping them in chains to be pulled over for harvesting. Also, yeah, the soundtrack is excellent. It has a real Darren Korb vibe, but only the sad Darren Korb songs, not the fun action-packed ones. So unfortunately, I would love to put this whole soundtrack into my, car combat mix, but all the songs are sad. Bacoley is really the Elliott Smith of her world. I'm going to compare her to every musician. She's Darren Korb, Elliott Smith, Sarah McLachlan, which is one hell of a combo. But the soundtrack is beautiful. I just wish I could afford more of it and it didn't cost 1,200 guts per song. You get a free song at the end of every dungeon. So at least there's that. By the way, gigantic centipede skull monster worm bird thing. It's got a bird skull, so it must be biomechanical. And part of their logging enterprise? I'm just gonna spin around and hope for the best. I don't know what killed me there, if I'm entirely honest. But we'll sort it out. Sooner or later. I believe a lot of the team in this game is of Central and South American origin. So I don't know what their actual experience is with native cultures. A lot of this reads as authentic. I should really let the bike do a lot more of the work here. Now, when the thing's going by, your character does legitimately go all the way off screen, which is fun. This is bad. I had no bike protection there. Let's make this happen. There we go. It's easy to get 2 kills per cycle, even though I only got 1 there. Each successive cycle is significantly easier because there's way less birds. So once you're at about this point, you're pretty much doing fine. Wait for the last birds on the centipede. One last guy hanging on for dear life right at the tail. I respect his gumption. But he's dead. It still has 1 HP though. Kablam! And a brief flash of Laika dying. Because Laika can die endlessly. Most bosses end with you watching your character die gruesomely. Anyway, that's where the flower was. We can bring it on home. Make one hell of a wreath. One of the things that's a bit frustrating about this game is when you make big story progress, like killing a boss, you really don't get much of a reward. That was a bit of Viscera. I think most of that Viscera came from killing the birds that were hanging on to the boss, more so than the boss itself. And for progress, all we got was the quest item that Puppy wants, which will allow us to make more progress. We don't get, like, a new weapon or anything. The vast majority of the progress is just... here's a new story item that you need. And with such a difficult game, you would want to feel like your power is increasing frequently, and it really, objectively, is not doing so. You gotta get all that Viscera. Okay. Yeah, going back this way will be the fastest way down. Thank you, Map Maker. Body blocking that guy. Need him slain. Also, you would wish that the candles would be like an instant teleport that you could use anytime. Nope. You have to go all the way back to the teleporter. Hence what I mean about there being no shortcuts out of any dungeon ever. Extremely user-unfriendly design. So if you want to have a chill time, just playing a game and doing cool flips, and trying to, like, accurately snipe guys while you're keeping a bike on its wheels, this is a great game that will keep you entertained for many, many hours. I found a lot of those hours to be of limited entertainment value. And like I said, it just gets way worse later on. Merchant has a Game Boy for us, and I gotta buy the Game Boy. Puppy wants it. And what Puppy wants, Puppy gets. Teleport back home. Apparently I've only got the 1 candle, but I've got a lot of beeswax for future candles. Yeah, no one's home. We can actually take the bike and ride around the town very quickly. We can also participate in a blackjack minigame with Chip. Chip only takes a $50 bet. Okay. Obviously, we're going to want to stand here. Chip busted. So I'll be honest, I played a lot of blackjack, and there's an achievement for, like, winning 10 times or something. The vast majority of the time, Chip is a cheater and deals himself blackjack over and over and over again. I played a lot of the blackjack in this game, like I said, and I have lost so many times. I've lost way more often than I won. So blackjack is not a good way to make money. Even if you do make money, it's 50 bucks at a time. It's not too respectable, in my opinion. Lewis only shows up at night. He has a disease that killed his parents. Camilla wants to die. It's a depressed town. But there's someone who's not depressed. Our music friend. Even when he's dead, he wants to hear this song. He loves live music. Now, this guy is not going to talk to us now that he's in town. He's just going to play his song with his foot, which is kind of badass. If I knew the name of the dog from Animal Crossing, I would reference it right now. I still have not gotten Maya her shotgun. Can't make that until daytime. And I think I'm still short on some supplies, but whatever. She'll get her shotgun eventually. The shotgun is a very, very important movement tool for the sake of the Metroidvania exploration aspect, because it has just ridiculous amounts of recoil. You fire the shotgun, you go like 3 bikes lengths upwards in the opposite direction of the shotgun blast. And that is how you get yourself over like huge gaps and cliffs and stuff. Which, again, super badass. Cressy's got a dead mom. And body pains. The whole age through blood thing, that is a explicit reference to menstruation. Big part of the plot, actually. That you get the curse of immortality on your first period, which is why only women can have the curse. And it's a whole thing that ripples out and has, you know, catastrophic psychological effects on Laika and her family. On top of her being a murder machine that she doesn't want to be. Puppy looks up to us. Because we're a video game character. In real life. And when we die, it hurts unbelievably more than any normal person could possibly comprehend. And then we come back. Lucky us. Kids are morbid sometimes. Now Puppy has a bike just like us. And she wants to go look for Poochie on a tricycle. Bedtime. I think we have another quest to acquire in the morning, but yeah, that's the logical stopping point. 2 boss fights. Obviously, 1 boss fight made more sense, but that was kind of brief, and it didn't really show off the extent of the gameplay, and it didn't give me an opportunity to complain about how this game gets kind of rough later on. That said, I am going to finish it. I'm the vast majority of the way through the game. I love it immensely. It does get a little too heavy for no good reason. Or rather, for some good reason. Just sometimes goes a little too far. It's a grimdark universe, because it deals with grimdark themes. But I gotta see all those little cartoons. The cartoons are well worth it. We gotta deliver a notebook to the furthest reaches of this entire world. Literally the highest point. Maybe I can get the shotgun? I'm not even close to being able to get the shotgun. What am I talking about? I remember. These items all appear in the seaside level. Here's where the Elder decides what we need to do. We could not previously get to the area he is sending us to because it was blocked by tanks. We need to ally with the mining town, who we previously cut off. They've got 10 times as many people as we do. They're only going to talk to us because we have the ultimate weapon of war. / we are the ultimate weapon of war. So not only do we have to go all the way out there to the mines to recruit them, Remo wants us to go to the big tree and burn it down. It is the religious center of the birds. Arella is there already. She's doing an inside man routine. She will help us burn down the big tree. The big tree is the level that I mentioned, where you go to the bottom, and then the top, and then the bottom, and then the top. Shaza is an anthropomorphic TV screen. I'm not kidding. She's currently Skyping in, but when we find her, she is actually an anthropomorphic TV. So we're friends with centipedes and just machines, as well as every furry in the world. And we still can't overcome the bird menace. Shaza's been cut off, and we need to go find the radio center of this world. So those 3 missions that we just acquired can be done in any order. The game becomes non-linear at this point. And all 3 of them have to be completed before we can advance the plot. And they are increasingly frustrating. The mission to burn down the big tree is super irritating, and the mission to destroy communications so that we can establish our own communications, so very irritating. They give you, like, assignments where they say, go destroy the satellite tower. And then you go to destroy it, and the way to destroy it is to destroy 4 other satellite towers. Just fetch quest on fetch quest on fetch quest. With as many roadblocks put up in your way as possible. So it's a weird game, but it's sort of an amazing game. Very much a unique game. Oh, I never gave her the flower. What the hell's wrong with me? If I can get back into my house, which I'm not sure I can. He's getting that flower. Okay. Flower time. Hope you're not too tired. And there we go. He would actually be able to talk to his corpse, tell him the good news about the Wraith. If we could find him. But there we go. Laika, age through blood. What more can you say that I haven't already said? I've said it all. Thanks for joining me for this quick look. It'll probably be the last I'm able to show off this game. I hope you have enjoyed it as much as I have.